If you've watched season 2, episode 2 of Village Living and Innovation, you know that in December 2024, Jan 2025, I went to Bali and spent New Year's Eve there. However, prior to this, in September, my good friend Lerato and I had gone to Cape Town. Although the trip was for pleasure, obviously, see the JC LaRue snippets from our trip. Part of the trip for me was to go back to Stellenbosch and try and figure out how and whether or not I can get back into university. And I found that yes, I can. And so I began the application process in 2024 and I was readmitted. I had to reapply, get readmitted, do the whole thing. If you haven't watched my other traumatic video on why I left school and everything in 2019, you'll find it somewhere there, or I'll try and link it up here. But I found that, okay, I can register. I don't have to redo any of the modules. It's my degree, or like my advancement in the degree was not old, so to speak, even though it was 5 years later. So yeah, when I was preparing to go to Bali, I was also preparing to move my whole life to Stellenbosch. And as much as I was going on holiday, I also had the anxiety of having to have everything ready, booking the flights, booking the accommodation. So when I went to Bali, I'd already booked my flights to Cape Town and my accommodation. So I went to Cape Town on the 20th of January. It was just before orientation. This is the neighborhood that I found my Airbnb in. It was really nice. A couple called, I think, Mia. And the Airbnb I found was like, okay, this is kind of like what I'm going for. At the least, when it comes to a bachelor, it's a single flat. You can see the whole room when you are on one side, but it's really cute. So I really enjoyed this. They were really great hosts. And I thought a week would be enough for me to look around for accommodation, especially on the weekends, and see if I can find anything. But boy, was I in for a rude surprise. I had decided before I turned 25 that I would never live in a single sink household again. But this was so cute. I was like, the single sink is not a problem. I would love to find something like this. So going into it, my standards were high. I was like watching the birds, drinking my morning coffee, having a cigarette before my classes. Yes, love to see it. But in reality, what was up on offer was a hostel. The first 2 or 3 days, I really just spent looking for accommodation and trying to make bookings, unpacking. Here's how I've unpacked. And I thought this neighborhood was so nice. I really enjoyed this neighborhood. It wasn't like too university vibes, but also grown up. I thought maybe I'd find something in this neighborhood. This is in De Poort, and the shops are not close. You do need a car. The university is not close. But I would have been able to walk, and there's a taxi pickup within walking distance from here. So that would have worked for me. And like the neighborhood is so nice. The herbs around, it's just so nice. I like this yard. They've got so many edibles, like this pineapple sage. And then over here they have, I think this is an apple tree, some lemon trees, rosemary. I'm not sure what that purple thing is. Some lemons, more lemons. One of the houses has a fig tree that is fruiting. I'd love to stay here actually. Ang plana. Abantu namaFerrari wabo. Singodla uplastic wami. Qhubeke ne-Chevrolet exam ngithule phansi namaqanda ami ngiwathenge ngemali yami yokugcina. Kunandaba. Why am I personally offended by that guy's car? It's none of my business. Oh my gosh. I realized halfway through walking back that the plastic bag is too heavy and it's threatening to break. So I'm carrying it like a baby. Mhlambe nina ngizokwazi ukuchaza kangcono ukuthi lama students ahlala kulezi ndawo like obani abazali bazo, like 0.5 bedroom iwu 15,000 kanjani. 0.5 there isn't even a separate room. How is a 1 bedroom 22,000? Cela ngithandaze ingane ezimnyama ezifunda Stellenbosch because what the fuck. And so because the search for accommodation was not going well, I was like, maybe let me try and get registered while I'm at it. And while I'm looking, let me get registered, because initially I thought it would be easier if I find accommodation first, then figure out registration, because I knew for a fact that I would be able to get registered even though it was going to be hard. So I started with accommodation because I knew that was going to be a tougher challenge to overcome. But when I went to the admin A department trying to get registered and everything, I was told that I can't register because I still have outstanding debts, the debts that was from so many years back, and they couldn't find the dates on the system, how much it is exactly. But also I can't register because they'd overhauled their system in 2021, and so my date was made in 2019, and so I don't know, my data was not transferred to the new system. Regardless, I had that outstanding debt. When I asked why, I was still then receiving messages from NASFA saying I owe them money. I was told because the university is still doing the recons from 2019. So the university was still consolidating financial data from 5 years ago, and I don't know if that's legal or not, but it is unethical because like there's people who are holding on to that. I then went to the engineering building to find help. There's a gentleman called Mr. August, star of the show, and Mr. Engelbrecht, who's the program coordinator. They helped me get registered despite the debt, and then I continued with the search for accommodation. It's not like it had stopped, it was going on concurrently, and these were some of the options. So they focus a lot on the amenities when the actual living quarters are rubbish. This, I think, is at Noordgedag, or one of those types of facilities where it's like a res. It's private, but it's for university students. You can see it has all of the washing machines and everything. But I discovered that there's 2 people in a room, so you share a room with somebody, and there's 4 bedrooms in the flat, so it's basically an 8 people flat. And I'm grown, and then the lady was processing the applications was so rude to me. She was like, what is she doing wanting to live here? We only have a cap of 27. She made me feel really old and shit about myself. But as you can see, the amenities are great, but the space is so small. But eventually I found a space. It was in Varsity, right near Noordgedag. Don't judge my pronunciation. It was a 2-bedroom shared with one other person. 6.5 thousand rands for a bedroom, for a flat that you are sharing with somebody else. I I don't even want to get into how it went with my flatmate, but this was her bedroom before she moved in, and this was mine. It had two windows, and I need natural light, especially in the Western Cape winters, because boy, they are depressing. And I saw that happen in real time again. It's furnished. The furniture is a bit old, but I don't really care because I was there for a year and I needed furniture. So 6.5 with furniture isn't bad for Stellenbosch, but you're still sharing, so it's not great. There's a lot of kitchen space or storage space. Also has a fridge, has a washing machine, like everything that you need basically. Also has a balcony, which was my favorite spot to inhabit. We use this every now and then, but not really. The balcony was my favorite spot for me, and I'd sit here and work. So I was working and studying, or trying to figure out studying, from January until July, and then I was just studying from July. I'm so excited. Let's talk about donuts, maybe a croissant, and some chips. Living alone will have you fantasizing about food. Once I settled in, you can see the glow started to take effect. I really enjoyed the views from the balcony and being woken up by the sun. And yeah, we are here now posting this because it's 2026 and we made it through. I made a vow to myself that I wouldn't publish content until I had passed. So at this point, I've actually made it through and working or figuring out when grad will be, But that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time with an episode on relationships.